What is up, guys? How to take a little breaky poo. Last time we were talking, we were still talking about the spell book of fate. Let's see if we can get an up close and personal shot of this little baby. This is the smoking gun of the spellbook deck, starring Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, Hermit of Prophecy, and Justice of Prophecy. The reason there's three of them is because you banish three spellbooks from your graveyard and banish one target. No, yeah, you don't need. It says banish one card your opponent controls. That means it doesn't target, which is not only good for the fact that it gets past things like Leo or anything else that can't be targeted. It's that upon activation, you don't target, so they have no idea what you're gonna banish when Fate resolves. So if they really want to save their monster or something, like I've had people compulse their monster off of the field because they don't want it to be banished. So then they use their compulse, their monster is off the field, then Fate resolves, and you get to banish another, like anything. You can banish their spells or traps, and you can banish their monsters. So they went -3 on that, basically. Like if they tried to compulse a Grapha or something just because they really didn't want it banished. Which happens a lot of the time. So, Spellbook of Fate is just insanely powerful. And I could talk about it forever, but we don't have forever. So, moving on. Spellbook Library of the Crescent. The difference between a good spellbook player and a bad spellbook player is whether or not they realize this is one of the best cards in the deck. You want to open up Crescent. This 3 Crescent, 3 Spellbook Magician, and 3 Spellbook of Secrets gives you such a crazy amount of consistency with the deck. Because that's 9 times out of 40, and you draw 5 on those odds to open up with basically turn 1 Fate. And it's so easy to keep that chain rolling once you get turn 1 Fate and Tower out. And with Priestess and Fate always going off every turn, Spellbook Library of the Crescent is always live. I need to do a whole video explaining everything about Prophecy. Basically, the goal of the deck is to dump 3 spells into the grave every turn, and then banish them with Fate to banish whatever your opponent summons, recycle Fate with Tower, and do the whole thing all over again. And the easiest way to do that is with Crescent, and then you just keep banishing the Crescent and using Eternity to get back the Masters and the Secrets, and then after all your Crescents are gone, you'll probably have won by that point. And you can just banish things like Wisdoms and Powers that are going to be going into the grave after the first couple turns if you don't open up without them. And Crescent is just so good. It's the missing link. People who talk shit about Crescent are bad players. That's all I gotta say about this. You gotta run 3. Another Spellbook Power. I don't know why they split them up. Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi, Tsukuyomi. This card is really good. You can tech this in even not in a budget Prophecy deck, because this flips down your blue boy all day long. You get 1 search per turn with Tsukuyomi, and this is basically a Maestroke. It's like a Book of Moon that you never lose it. It's a Book of Moon that you can use every single turn in exchange for your normal summon. And she can run over all kinds of stuff. Like anything that has 1,000 defense or less, Tsukuyomi can run over by herself, even if it has some kind of effect, because Tsukuyomi negates effects, basically. She can flip down beetles to be destroyed. She can flip down anything that has an awesome effect except Leo. But she's also a hottie. So, plus in my book. And here we go. Ultimate Rare. The Hierophant of Prophecy, aka the Harpy's Feather Duster of Prophecy. Once per turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls up to the number of spellbook spell cards in your graveyard. You are always going to have 3 spellbooks in your graveyard. And that is just a complete blowout. Normally you'll have even more, so it's normally you can destroy every single trap they have. Although, I'll admit, Big Eye is almost always a better option. But this is a good card to have. Harpy's Feather Duster, why wouldn't you run it? Another reasoning, I already talked about reasoning. Creature Swap is very good for the same reason that Monster Gate is good. You're gonna, in Prophecy, you essentially net 1 free Spellbook Magician of Prophecy per turn as a body, as long as you don't use your normal summon in some other way. And even though you can use 2 of him to make a Downward Magician, sometimes your opponent just makes an even better monster, and you're just like, oh, here's my little 500 attacker. Allow me to attack directly into you with that huge monster you just used. Creature Swap can steal games. Injection Fairy Lily. Probably my favorite card of all time. This was definitely my favorite card back in the day. And when I realized that she was a spellcaster and not a fairy, I was so happy. This card is viable even as a, maybe not in the meta, but this is a 3,400 attacker, normal summonable. And you can stack on top of that with Power, Masters, and Star Hall to get like a 6,000 damage in. And just off of a normal summon. People will never see this coming. Like, they can leave, just, like, paying the life points doesn't really matter. And it's such a great effect that, it asks you whether or not you want to use the effect during the damage step. Because so many things cannot be activated during the damage step. So if you get to that point, you know that the attack is going to go through and that the 2,000 life points won't be wasted. And I have honestly had so many people not even read this card and attack into it with like the big monster with some kind of effect, like cannot be destroyed by card effects or something. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Activate effect. I win the battle, you lose a bunch of life points and your monster. Injection Fairy Lily, so good. And this girl is better looking than the Dark Magician girl. How about that? What do you think about that? I mean, it's debatable between her and Dark Magician girl, but honestly, she is one of the, so good. So good. I'll talk about her more later. Oh no, is that every single card? I went through every single card. Oh no. Give me a second and I'll show you guys the rest of my tech choices.